Howdy, guys, and welcome to night 49 of Big Brother Season 24's overnight feed recaps. And welcome to Cliff Notes. All right, night 49, and we finally got some backyard feeds after 72 hours or so. Seems like forever, but we did get some outdoor feeds. So let's talk about what may or may not have been happening outdoors. We had the feeds. We now know the results of the outdoor veto ceremony. Terrence had won HOH. Terrence had won the veto. He put Turner and Joseph on the block. And with the veto ceremony, Terrence has chosen to use the veto. He did indeed pull Turner off the block, put Kyle up in his place. We had heard some rumors, but we weren't certain that is the case. So come Thursday, we'll have an eviction, and either Joseph or Kyle is going to be going home. Now, is this change of Terrence's nominees? Is that a result of something that maybe a wall yeller had hollered out that he heard, or is it part of a plot by Michael to cover up his flipping on the leftover alliance, or was it due to strong campaigning from Turner and not wanting to be on the block? Not really sure at this point. Although I'm leaning towards a calculated decision by Terrence and Kyle and everyone to perhaps cover up the fact that Kyle spilled the beans about the leftover lines. I don't know that for certain. It just seems like right now the target is still Joseph, that Kyle is still good with Terrence and with everyone else in that backyard, which makes me think that this may have been a planned situation that Terrence did. But we'll find out later. But the key is that either Kyle or Joseph is going home at this point. It sure seems like it's probably going to be Joseph, but he's an attorney. He can do some arguing, and he's got another 24 hours or so to do so. So Joseph potentially the target in the backyard. Inside, it's Jasmine. Jasmine is going home this week. It's just a matter, do they tell her ahead of time or not? I think they will. All right. We don't know that yet the mood of the conversations, or we don't know yet which of those it was. But again, the mood of the conversations is probably that it's the four Terrence, Kyle, Alyssa, and Turner, kind of opposed to Joseph right now. So again, 4 against 1 on the inside and on the outside. So with that being said, let's talk about the feeds that we did have last night. So watching the feeds at 5:49. That's your timestamp. 5:49. We get the outside feeds. We see Kyle and Turner. I think Turner's in the pool. Kyle's out sitting near the pool, talking about animation, cartoons, favorite TV shows. Absolutely nothing strategic, but I was so happy to see them talking about anything at that point in time. Hey, happy to still see them in the backyard, right? And we assumed everything we saw last night was live in terms of those backyard feeds. For all we know, it was 24 hours ago and there's somewhere else or something else going on. I don't think that's the case. I do think it's live, but we don't know. We're depending upon the producers to tell us so. But we did have Colin Turner talking, starting again late afternoon, early evening. These house guests, beans and weenies for dinner. I'm not sure they even have any kind of cooking type apparatus there. At one point, I saw Joseph. I thought he was maybe cooking a weenie up. I think he may have just been holding it under hot water for all I can tell. So these house guests are definitely roughing it. They're definitely replicating that Fire Festival atmosphere. So beans and weenies for dinner, followed by Chinese checkers by the group. A little bit later, followed up by cornhole. They're just trying to survive until they get back inside that house. Now, there was talk amongst the outsiders about a tarp that has now been pulled over the roof that's covering the upper area. Just as an FY, it's a kind of a sheer white. I want to say cotton. It could be plastic for all I know, but kind of a sheer white covering that can go over most of the roof. And I always assumed it was just to keep the direct sun off of us during some of the competitions during the day and all that. But maybe it's to prevent people from seeing above. I'm not sure. But they're talking about this covering that's now been pulled over the top of the backyard. They're talking about the fact that they don't really like it. It's blocking out the views of the sky, the clouds, airplanes at night. They're not going to be able to see the stars. It's really cut off all of their access to the outside viewing area. They're also very worried that it's going to stop any breeze. It's going to turn the backyard into an absolute oven. Earlier in the day, the inside house guests got locked down upstairs, and the outsiders we think probably came in inside. So it sounds like this tarp maybe had only been up a few hours when these feeds came back, but they're worried it's just going to be brutally hot tomorrow, today, with this tarp in place. They are wondering if it may not help keep the bugs out. They've been overwhelmed by ants. Ants are everywhere. Any bit of food they leave out anywhere in the backyard is immediately just covered by ants. But they also apparently have a lot of bugs flying around and things like that. I thought at one point, Terrence kept talking about a drone flying around in the backyard. I thought, man, who knows what's going on with outside influences and everything. Nah, he's just talking about some of the bugs and just being a little silly, calling them drones and all of that. So no drones that we know of. But they do have the tarp over. Not sure if that's really going to help or not. They're going to find out. Strategic talk. We did have Joseph pitching to Terrence, pitching pretty hard. In fact, it seems like saying that he's going to prove to Terrence that Terrence can trust him. He's saying that a debt pays a debt, and that Joseph would certainly owe Terrence if Terrence saves him. Well, now Terrence says several times throughout the evening, he says, "I don't have a vote. Yeah, I'm a tiebreaker, but that doesn't even mean anything if one of these other two don't change their mind." So Terrence is kind of feeling like he's a step removed from it anyway. But Joseph saying, "I would owe you huge if you save me, Terrence. Your debt plays a debt." He's saying, "I have Turner, and I could have you. You've got a lot of protection inside the house." He's saying, "Look, you've been on the block 4 times, Terrence. You deserve to be in this game much more than I do even. And so as a result of that," he said, "I'll sacrifice my game to help your game going forward." It's at that point that's all I have to offer. That's what I can do is help you survive and move forward in the game. He's talking about blowing up the house when everyone comes back together, and then says, "No pun intended. I'm Arabic." I didn't think anything by it. It's just being silly, and he just threw that out there. But I guess some people on social media were a little concerned about that. He's just talking. So he's talking about how he'll blow up the house when he gets back in the house, just to make sure that Terrence and Alyssa are safe. He's saying, "Y'all aren't going to be going anywhere next week." Now, the fact that he threw in Alyssa and Terrence, it just makes me wonder, does Joseph know that Terrence knows about the leftovers? I'm not really sure if he still does or not. I haven't been able to figure it out, but he's saying, "Keep me around, and I guarantee that you and Alyssa are safe next week, Terrence. You can't compete for HOH, but you got me on your side. Just let me prove myself to you." Making a lot of promises. Terrence doesn't really seem that interested. He's just halfway paying attention, it seems like. And after Joseph leaves, Terrence talks to his wife to the camera and says, "Man, help me decide this thing." So that does seem like there may be a little bit of uncertainty from Terrence's part. But I have a feeling you've got Joseph on this side, you've got the other 3 on the other side telling them to stay strong and take out Joseph. And I think that's going to lead. I don't think the campaign's going to work, and we'll talk about that more in a second. Later, in fact, we do have Alyssa and Terrence talking. They're talking about the inside, and that they're really hoping that Monty is gone as well. They'd love to see Joseph and Monty both out the door in the same week. They're talking about next week or Thursday. Monty or Terrence can't compete, but he's saying, "Look, I really hope that you, Alyssa, or Kyle win HOH. Michael and Taylor up on the block. If y'all win it, put Michael and Taylor on the block." So we know what their targets are going forward. They are wondering if they're going to, when they get back in the house, if maybe they could blame their knowledge of the leftovers. Because remember, these two aren't in the alliance. But they're wondering if they could blame their knowledge of the leftovers on Joseph. So yeah, Joseph, when he found out he was going home, he told us everything. He spilled the beans on everything. They could do it. I don't think the inside house guests are going to see Joseph before he goes out the door. So they can blame anything they want on him, the outsider. So they're talking about that. Terrence's side says, "Yeah, probably not. I'm just going to go in there and act like I don't know anything. Just play same old self that I was playing before, and not let them know that I know all of this information." They're both criticizing Joseph's pitch. Terrence is saying, "Look, he can't protect us inside the house. He makes promises. He can't protect us. And even if he could, I'm not sure that he actually would. He's still playing his game." Both of them are very irritated that he keeps pitching to them over and over again. Today may be a long day for the house guest outside, because I have a feeling Joseph is going to continue the campaign right up until the very last minute. All right, we've also got Joseph and Turner and Kyle sitting around the hammock talking about their scariest horror movies and things like that. But Joseph also is leading the conversation a little bit. and talking about Michael, wondering if he's a swimmer because he's just so agile and so competitive and all of that. They're talking a lot about, they're not sure how much he benefits from having Brittany with him, but Brittany certainly benefits from having Michael with them. In other words, Joseph's planting a few seeds that Michael's very strong in that house. Well, I'm not the target. Michael's who we need to be concerned with, and trying to make sure people remember that there's bigger targets than just who's out in the backyard. He's trying. He's doing what he can. Eventually turns into a bit of a recap of the first half of the season, the alliances, which alliance formed when, who formed it, who got pulled in, just a bunch of recap of a bunch of those things. All right, we've got finally Joseph and Kyle. Well, not finally. We've got Joseph and Kyle, Turner and Alyssa talking. Joseph is talking about Taylor, and he's saying, look, Taylor is super close with Michael and Brittany. Y'all need to be aware of that. He's saying also, just to kind of let you know just how close she is with them, Taylor actually approached me and proposed a final four of Taylor, myself, Michael, and Brittany. So Joseph certainly throwing Taylor under the bus at this point a little bit. Again, doing what he can to try to create some relationships with the others by throwing out information and trying to go after other folks. So talking about Taylor, throwing away all the details about her and Brittany and Michael. He's also telling Alyssa that Turner was Turner, I think, Michael or Monty Taylor. Sorry, guys. He's telling Alyssa that Taylor was really trying to get Alyssa out, that she was a leading force when she was HOH. She is the one that Kyle wanted to use a veto. And so kind of confirming what some of the stuff that Kyle had already told Alyssa about what a rough week that was with Taylor putting the pressure on. So Joseph's confirming it, which means that Alyssa and Taylor, when they get back in the house, there's certainly not going to be any friendships there. We see a lot of information that's been spilled this week in the backyard. It's really going to lead to some divisions inside that house. All right, later we've got Kyle talking to Alyssa and Kyle and Terrence. In other words, everyone in the backyard except Joseph. And Kyle is saying, look, if I get HOH, I want to put up Monty and Taylor, but then I want to turn around and backdoor Michael if I get the opportunity. There's not going to be many more opportunities for backdoor, so this could be it. And it's just what Michael has expressed fears about inside the house. Kyle's talking about it outside, saying, yeah, I want Michael out, but in short term, I'll put up Monty and Taylor and let's try to make things happen when we get in. These four seem very tight. I don't know if it's the revealing of information or fear of the people inside, but these four suddenly seem to be working very close together. I'm curious to see if it's going to stick when they get inside the house. They're talking about how they're going to act once they get back inside. They're saying they're going to today work out the details, make sure they're all on the same page. But as of last night, they're saying they're going to tell everyone inside that there was zero privacy out in the backyard, so there wasn't a whole lot of game talk that went on. At one point, they were saying that they'll say that Joseph went home. Kyle's going to say, yeah, Joseph went home, but he went home. He didn't really reveal anything about alliances. He didn't blow up anyone's game, so we should all be good. Keep the insiders in the dark a little bit. In fact, they're saying they won't even mention that Kyle was ever on the block to begin with, or that Turner was ever on the block to begin with. They're just going to say, yeah, Terrence put up Kyle and Joseph, and we don't really know why. He wouldn't tell us. He was very private with his decisions. There wasn't any collaboration. It was just Terrence wanting to make a big move. And so that's how they're going to phrase it to everyone when they get inside. All right. So that's what happened outside. They actually went to bed fairly early. The feeds cut away, so we don't know exactly when they went to bed. But Alyssa saying, "Man, I'm tired. Let's just go sleep." So I think they went to bed as soon as they were allowed to. So let's at this point go ahead and cut inside. Talk about some of the conversations that took place there quickly. First of all, we've got Michael and Brittany talking, as they often do. Talking about how long they have had a final two compared to other final twos who made it to the end in previous Big Brother seasons. They're feeling like they maybe have had an alliance longer than most people in most seasons have made it to the very end. Hey, you got to make it to the very end first, and you aren't there yet, guys. But they're thinking about it. They're also thinking that Terrence is probably their biggest current threat, that they think Terrence will go after them. Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, Michael's name certainly has been mentioned, but they're thinking that at least short term, Terrence is the biggest threat. They don't think Monty will go after him. They don't think Turner will go after him. So their idea is go ahead and get Terrence out while they can. And one thing I think as Brittany pointed out, said, look, if we do that, it means we don't have to pick sides yet either. If we go after Terrence, if I win HOH is basically the only way because Michael can't win HOH. But she's saying if I go after Terrence, we don't have to pick sides between Monty and Kyle and however this is all going to pan out once everyone comes back together. So it gives us a week to kind of see how things play out. It's not a bad idea. All right, we've got Taylor. Taylor unfortunately burned her arm, her shoulder with a curling iron. And apparently it was bad enough that she yelped and maybe Big Brothers came on and said, are you okay? You can see it later in the evening. It's a pretty decent burn. So yeah, Taylor's got a little injury of her own that she's dealing with. We have an extended bumper pool session going on upstairs. Jasmine's happy because she finally beat Monty, or she played him and she beat Monty in a round of bumper pool. Jasmine's been much more social and I don't know, amiable since she got put on the block. It's amazing what being put on the block does for you. So she's excited that she beat Monty in bumper pool. Later, Monty is actually teaching her how to play chess as well. So not real exciting as a viewer to watch, but as far as everyone getting along inside, it's kind of nice to see. Again, there's still discussion about when and if they tell Jasmine before the eviction itself. And they keep talking about eviction today. I think they're just absolutely convinced that they're going to have a Wednesday night eviction. I don't think that's the case. If it is, someone out there tell me because I haven't heard, but they think that's the case. All right. Insiders did get a delivery of hamburgers. I don't know if there was alcohol with it or not. I didn't see, but someone brought in hamburgers, so they got a little treat as being VIPs for Brochella and all of that. They had that. Jasmine and Monty are talking. I think this was down in the kitchen, talking about different potential scenarios that are going on outside, who could be on the block, who they think may be going home, things like that. They talk a little bit about their journey to get into Big Brother house and playing the game and all of that. So just kind of they're just talking, getting to know each other a little bit better, which is interesting because Jasmine thinks Monty's going home. Monty thinks Jasmine's going home. Jasmine's the actual target. And I think Jasmine, even though she's not saying it, she's got to have an inkling. And in fact, during this conversation, Monty leaves her a little bit. Jasmine looks very depressed. I just think she knows that there's a good chance she could be going home this week because she looks like she's just not doing well. So I think she has an idea. She's wondering when Monty comes back how different things would be if she didn't have her sprained ankle, but about the same level of injury in terms of how she's responded, right? And I'm going to get positive from this point forward because I do think she's out the door. But she is talking about the fact that if she hadn't hurt her ankle, how things could have been different in terms of competition and all that. Maybe. We'll see. I'm waiting now for the conversation about how she wants to come back for All Stars so she can show what she can do without the injured ankle. I'm sure that's going to come up. All right. I'm going to stay positive for now. All right. Taylor and Brittany in the HOH room talking a little bit. It's hard to hear these. They whisper better than most people. But they're talking a little bit, talking about what they're going to tell Terrence about why Jasmine is gone. They're saying, yeah, Terrence is going to feel completely alone when he gets back inside and realizes that Jasmine is gone because they were somewhat tight. So they're wondering what they're going to say about that. They're saying, well, maybe we'll say they found out about the Five Swatters alliance, and so they had to let her go and all of that. They're wondering if he'll have found out anything about the leftovers while he was outside. Well, matter of fact, yes. They're actively trying to avoid Jasmine. She comes up at one point, and Brittany pretends like she's asleep. So they're not really wanting to hear a lot of campaigning or anything. Taylor is saying that Monty doesn't want to move forward with Kyle and Turner. He's a little bit concerned about them. And that Monty really, this is coming from Taylor. Taylor's saying Monty really likes the idea of the five of us, talking about himself, Taylor, Brittany, Michael, and Joseph, I think, is a five that could move forward to the end. Well, that may be a little difficult to do after this Thursday. But again, Taylor's been trying to bring Monty and Brittany together a little bit as a tighter group. And it makes sense from Taylor's point. But she's tight with both of them. Let's work together kind of situation. So she's talking about that some more. All right, we've got Monte and Brittany talking, saying, "Look, if Joseph goes home over Alyssa, then that's really that's going to be a line drawn." Now, remember, Taylor's been wanting Monte and Brittany to be talking more game. Well, now they're starting to do it just a little bit more, saying, "Look, if Joseph's gone, we're going to know something's up. It's going to be the first attack within the alliance, so we'll keep that in mind." So they're preparing themselves. Monte is telling Brittany that he kind of understands her being a little isolated at times, that people really haven't talked to him lately about the game, that people just kind of isolated him a little bit. They're nice to him and friendly, but just not talking game with him. Monte is talking about how bad he feels about the way Brittany was excluded from Girls and a lot of the groups early in the season. You know, he said the same thing to Taylor. He's telling Brittany also that he feels bad about the way things went down. He is talking about looking forward, that he really is hoping they get to the 7, the leftover alliance of 7, and then to 5, get out Michael and Turner. And so he's really hoping they can get to that point. He mentions to Brittany, and I thought this was maybe a little mistake on his part. He mentions to Brittany about Michael and how worried he is about Michael and how well Michael will do if he makes it to the final 5. And Brittany coming back and saying the same thing she's told to Taylor, saying, "Look, we don't have a final 2, Michael and I." And she says, "I always worry he's going to ask about it, because then what do I tell him? I don't necessarily want to go to the final 2. He'd be too hard to beat." And so she's really downplaying her relationship with Michael in front of Monte, and making it seem like she would be open to maybe getting Michael out when Monte's ready to do so. I think it's just a talk for Monte. I don't think that's really the case. Although Brittany could surprise us. We'll see. All right. All the house guests except for Jasmine are in the, and eventually then Jasmine comes up as well, up in the HOH room, discussing what they think may be happening outside. And as Jasmine shows up, it turns much more into just a general discussion about everything non-game related. And then finally, to close out the evening, we've got Taylor talking to the camera in the bathroom, but not a lot of game talk. She's saying the hard part of this game is not knowing when someone is lying to you. Also, when someone's been lying to you, starting to just assume that everything they say is a lie, and kind of labeling them, stereotyping them based on maybe what happened earlier and all of that. And so I understand exactly what she's saying. It is difficult. You don't know who's telling the truth, who's not, what information you can rely on, what information you can't. So she's talking about that to the cameras. She's talking about how hard it is that between the 50 days in the house we'll have to starting today, plus her time in sequester beforehand, that's now been 61 days since she's had any contact with the outside world, how hard that is. I understand completely. You only have another month inside the house. It'll be here and gone before you know it, Taylor. But yeah, it is hard to be isolated for that long a period of time. And with that, all the house guests in bed inside the house by 3:30 or so, Big Brother time. House guests outside, I think they've been asleep quite a bit longer. So there you have it, guys. So again, I really think Jasmine inside, Joseph outside, heading out the door. Jasmine may enjoy having Joseph heading out the door at the same time with her, going to the jury house together. I'm just saying. But now the two of them probably going home. A lot more talk all of a sudden now about what they're going to tell the other side when they come back in, and how they're going to handle whatever happened on the other side. Thursday's going to be interesting when they get back together, and we'll see what happens at that point. But until then, guys, I'll keep on watching. Tomorrow morning, eviction day. We'll see what final campaigns may have taken place. Who knows? There may be some flip that we're not even aware of at this point in time. We shall see. But until then, guys, SKD 143, I will see y'all tomorrow morning. Cheers, my friends. Bye.